Men of Reddit, what's the most pathetic ridiculous thing another man has done in attempt to assert his dominance over you? That one guy who refuses to walk on the correct side of the hall lane etc. Like, do you drive on the wrong side of the road, too? It was a co-ed recreational adult indoor soccer league. 28-year-olds pretty much, and there was this one dude who thought he was some guy who should be in the pros. He was average at best, but the issue was he kept tripping people, pushing them around. There's basically a no contact rule since there were women and it's a rec league, and we all kinda had enough of him. Anyway, I have the ball and dribble for a bit with it. The whole time he is on my heels trying to trip me and kick my legs etc. Being an ex-college player, I know how it works and I just avoid it, but he was doing it to everyone including the women. Eventually I just stopped with the ball, turned around, and gave him a slight push, like no more than you would use to push a shopping cart into a cart corral. He immediately gets up and puffs his chest out and gets in my face. He's like 6'2". I'm like 5'10". Then he literally screams, "I will destroy you." I just laugh it off and walk away cause I knew I just got us both kicked out of the game. What a tool. In college, I got into an elevator and was followed in by a younger guy I didn't know. He eyed my, pretty standard in every way, backpack and said my backpack is way bigger than yours. Fair enough. He had a military, jumbo pack. Could have easily gone on a hike camp with it. I smiled and agreed, but he kept talking about how much bigger his was and how he couldn't fit anything into one like mine. Weird flex as the kids say. Dancing at the club minding my own business. Dude starts talking to me. Guess I was dancing too close to his chick or his sister or whatever. I dunno, I didn't even really notice her until he said something. He goes, "Your arms are so thin," grabs my arm compared to mine, like implying my muscles aren't worthy to dance with her, which I wasn't even doing. So I just kinda laughed right in his face and kept dancing right there. He didn't say anything after that. It was weird and in hindsight I probably shoulda gotten a bit more mad, but I just couldn't take him seriously at all. Trying to crush my hand during a handshake. Generally I'll just let my knuckles fold so it doesn't hurt. I don't have a heck of a lot of grip strength so I don't try to do it back. When it happens, it's happened a couple times, I always just let my arm go limp so everyone around can see I'm not in a dong measuring competition and ask him nice and loudly if it makes him feel big and strong to try to hurt my hand. It's worked 100% of the time. They always end up embarrassed and off balance the rest of the conversation. You have a really strong grip, you must jack off constantly. The people that try to act like a psychological genius and try to analyze you and figure out what kind of person you are. My friend's dad does this constantly with me and misses the mark every time and it just makes him look like a dumbass. Recently got my first tattoo. It's a small, minimalistic one. A guy at a party keeps making fun of it when I throw the ball and beer pong as it's on my right arm I use to throw. Reason he's making fun of it is his arm is filled with big, detailed tattoos. He clearly felt I was somehow inferior due to my small tattoo. Didn't bother me too much, but that, along with other crap he'd brag about, convinced me he's not a person worth giving a dang about. Threatened to beat me up if I so much as look at his girlfriend again. His girlfriend was my sister. I maintained eye contact whilst laughing, as she dumped him on the spot. In college, we were having a conversation about which animals we thought closely matched our personalities. One guy was a psych major, one of those that weaponize psychology by trying to psychoanalyze strangers and all that stuff. So he said he was probably a lion, and then would say everyone else were like hippos or manatees or other ugly looking fat animals. Seemed a bit transparent to me, but I think he really thought he was getting away with some subversive psych trick. Not me but my wife. We were living in an apartment complex and my wife had just parked her car, was carrying groceries and my 2-year-old inside. And this guy stopped her and said, "That's my spot. You need to move your car now. We don't have assigned spaces." But my wife was caught like a deer in headlights and put all the groceries and my daughter back in the car and moved it, just so he could park his 10-year-old Cadillac CTS in his favorite spot. I always got home from work before this guy. However, I never directly confronted him, but from then on, That parking spot became my spot and I parked there every single day for the next 2 years. I saw him out and about a few times, but thankfully being 6 feet 1 inches, overweight, and bearded, most people choose not to mess with me, even though I've never been in a fight and would be helpless in a confrontational situation. When I was in the military during our PT tests there was a max for everything, so once you hit the magical max number there really is no reason for going on. I always had to PT test the same time as my supervisor who was more physically fit than me, so when it came time to test he would always go beyond the max number, unlike me, who would hit the number and just stop because there was no point. After every test phase, he would get up and yell at me for not giving it my all, but I would just look at him and ask him what the point was. He made me go to my commander and explain myself. I think he was hoping I would get in trouble, but luckily my commander understood there was no point is going beyond when you hit the max number. Really stupid. I once knew a guy that would walk over with his chest puffed out anytime someone was talking to a girl and work into the conversation until he had separated the other guy from it. I personally found it hilarious because it was all an act. He's got a girlfriend now and has dropped the tough guy charade. Some people just act the way they think they're supposed to even when it's not who they truly are. Glad he figured it out. Got to the bus station. Bunch of kids are hanging around outside as usual. Dunno why. It's cool I guess. And they're blocking the entrance. One guy has his hand in his friend's pocket. Hoodie pocket. But they're far enough apart that I can walk between them. This kid sees me, stares me down and keeps his hand in the other kid's pocket. I just walk through slowly pushing his arm out of the way, and he calls me rude. Sounds like you interrupted his friend's surreptitious handy, so that could be seen as rude. I was sort of seeing FWB with a girl a few years back. We agreed to be exclusive, but nothing serious. She was hosting an event at a bar, roughly 50-60 people in attendance. I knew maybe 20 of them, so I was making my rounds. I see her at the bar being chatted up by another dude. No worries, I trust her. I'm not a crazy protective guy either. About 15 minutes later, I go over to ask her something about the event since she was using some of my audio equipment for it. I didn't mention or even imply that we had a thing in front of the dude. Guy says, buddy, what are you doing? We're busy chatting here. I start to reply, hey man, no worries here. I just need, and he cuts me off. Listen man, I really don't care. If I give you a $20 bill right now, would you get lost? I crack a smile. Sure man. The dummy gives me a crisp 20, and I leave them alone. Spend the next half hour or so chatting with friends. Girl joins me later after leaving the guy at the bar. He was interesting. I asked her. Yeah, I told him I wasn't interested, but he told me he just wanted to meet someone new and buy me a couple of drinks. Turns out, to the surprise of nobody, that he was trying to take her home. Anyways, hang out for the rest of the night with our friends. Girl's a little tipsy from her free drinks and asks me to come back with her. Just to be petty, I use that crisp $20 bill to pay for the cab back to her place. Fare was something like $12. Told him to keep the rest. Thanks stranger. When I was on a trip to Iceland, my friends and I were out drinking at the bars and I met a local guy outside, and as we were talking he kept trying to get close enough to me so he could put his foot on my foot. The first time he did it I just thought it was accidental. Then I could see it was what he was trying to do. I ended up telling the dude to frick off and the situation de-escalated from there. Other local guys told me after that it's a thing they do there in Iceland to show dominance, start fights with tourists. Make fun of the way I take my coffee. I hate the toxic crap where unless you drink it black, you're not a real man. Like bro, I'll drink IT however I dang well like. When I was 16, a dude bro in his Hummer H3 honked at my two friends and I while we were golfing. Naturally, we all gave him the finger as he drove by. The gentleman stopped his car and got out, clearly looking to start a fight. Screamed at us with the "why did you flip me off? Do you want to fight" shtick, even though he clearly honked at us. As he was coming towards us angrily shouting, I retorted with "you're yelling at children." Realizing we were all underage and he was not, and the fact we were all wielding golf clubs, he got back in his Dodge Mobile and drove off. I still wonder what went through his head to try to pull off a stunt like that. One of my friends was at a bar we're regulars at, so I went up to her to say hi, not realizing she was on a date. She introduces me. Hey, this is my friend, Boof Dog. I shook his hand and said, hey man, nice to meet you. He legitimately reappens. I'm an alpha male. Neither my friend or I knew how to follow that. It sounds ridiculous but it 100% happened and I hope will forever be the most ridiculous thing someone says to me. Total bro around you and your friends. But the second there's a girl there all of a sudden they try to impress them by crapping on the gang. A guy in my uni got jealous because I was close to the girl he likes. It was really obvious, and he would always stare at me whenever I was with her. Couple days later he would show up to uni wearing tuxedo, fedora, and Akatsuki scarf, walk along the hallway like it was a fashion show and proceed to give me the smirk every time I saw him. I had a guy yell at me at a bar when he overheard me saying I was 6'2" to a friend. He claimed he was measured at the NFL Combine at 6'0". We were the same height. He just kept yelling I'm 6 foot. I'm 6 foot. Be at me. I'm legit 6'2" but this guy was just not having it. Like dude, why are you selling yourself 2 inches short? It was such an odd and unprompted interaction. I'm 5 feet 9 inches and 170 pounds and for some reason guys taller or larger than me feel the need to call me big guy in a belittling way. I find it so odd. I've done nothing to you and am neither excessively small or large and yet you feel the need to try and take shots at my size. Shoots weird and I now perceive you as insecure. I'm not a fan of the shoulder touch. If it's a close friend giving advice, it's reassuring. But if it's someone trying to assert some dominance and does the shoulder touch in an attempt to be friendly, no dude. Every person who's done that is trying to sell me on something and I hate being hustled. One person I worked alongside with, more likely was a brother to the owner, would try to do that with my friends and I. He was a burly dude, weightlifter, but was always trying to get us involved in the company and convincing us that doing things for free would help build the company which will further lead to future revenue. No, dude. I'd smile and nod and be polite. But we parted ways shortly after because I know my worth and $0 is not how I'd like my check signed. Thank you very much. Back in my youth, we had a sleepover at a friend's house. It was me and my girlfriend of the time and 2 other couples. We were probably 13. One of the other dude tried to assert dominance over me because I thought I wasn't manly enough to have a girlfriend. He was sneakily bullying me in front of the others by always saying mean stuff that targeted me but nobody did much because nobody gave a crap about him, even his girlfriend. He waited until the girls went to the bathroom and came to me with the other dude and punched me in the face. My nose was bleeding a little bit and he punched me in the stomach. The other dude was trying to get me in a headlock when the girls came back in the room. They left me on the couch and went to the girls all proud of themselves. Girls slapped the 2 buttholes and asked them to leave. The boys were shocked and when the 3 girls went to tell the dad, who owned the house, what the 2 boys did, they had to call their parents and explain what they did. I never met those 2 guys after that. I cannot fathom what the heck those idiots were thinking. A guy was buying something for $20 off me in front of common friends and instead of handing me the money he threw it on the floor and said there's your money. I looked at it and told him as far as I am concerned you still owe me $20. You should pick up the money you dropped and use that to pay me. Friends started giving him some crap and were very uncomfortable. He finally picked it up and handed it to me but tried to squeeze my hand extremely hard. I have strong hands and just gave him the same strength of squeeze. Discussing beer at work, I recommended Samuel Adams Cherry Wheat. A supervisor asked, you like sucking dong with that too? I replied, if it tastes like cherry wheat, yes. A guy told the girl I was trying to date that I had assaulted another girl and was wanted by the police. She was shaken by the allegation but told me his story anyway. By a very strange coincidence I was applying for a job that required a security clearance. So at the moment she told me I was wanted by the police, I was carrying a letter from the police that said I had no criminal record and no warrants for my arrest. I showed her the letter and the other guy looked like the gigantic butt that he was. Later I informed my alleged victim that he had said this about her. I also related the story to the guy's fraternity president. I don't know if he had to face any repercussions from his fraternity, but the president guy advised me to beat him up. I declined. I'm not sure how much this counts. but I hear a lot of dudes that brag about how many hours they work in a day or week. Guys that are like, yeah, I worked 20 out of 24 hours yesterday and only got 2 hours of sleep. Like, sorry that you have poor work-life balance and time management skills? How are you expecting me to react? Dude was mad I was talking to his ex, who was one of my best friends since before he even knew her, and started spinning his butterfly knife uncomfortably close to me while telling me about how thug he was with knives. It was freaking weird. I just said, yeah man, that's cool, I've never really been into knives, then walked away. That peed him off pretty bad and he had to go outside to have a mental breakdown. He threatened to kill me later that night. Some people just get so worked up. I don't know if it was necessarily dominance assertion or misplaced chivalry, but my so and I have a deal where I cover all the other bills in the house as long as she covers food and does more chores. We both came to that agreement. It just works easiest. That includes covering eating out to a reasonable amount, and then I'll chip in. So we're just getting some BK I think, and the guy at the register saw that my so was about to pay, so he said no. He pays, probably assuming I was some deadbeat or something. Instead of putting up a fuss, I just covered the $10 or whatever it cost. Talked a girl I cared about into not speaking to me again. She never told me that they were dating and she was flirting with me, sending selfies and video clips, etc. I only found out almost a year later that she was being unfaithful with him. My granddad was recently diagnosed with cancer at the time, and I saw him on Facebook mocking me while my granddad was dying. The girl heart reacted the post. The funny thing is that he called me a cuck. His girlfriend was being unfaithful with him, but he called me a cuck. When I tried to confront him about his BS and about her unfaithfulness, he blocked me. I can't think of anything more pathetic than a guy only mocking someone when they are not around and then running away when you try to confront them. My fiance's ex tried to get into a fight with me, but he didn't want to be the one who started it. To prompt this fight, he called me a big gorilla. I sat there for a second before bursting out into laughter. I told him if he was going to insult me, he had to do a heck of a lot better than that. This sounds something straight out of a sitcom. You make people laugh because you're insecure. That's so sad. Said by a guy who was clearly trying to embarrass me in front of my peers. I just laughed. I laughed because he was insecure. That's so sad. So I'm 6 feet 3 inches 220 pounds. Pretty big guy, and I worked out regularly when this happened. I went to a house party to pick up my girlfriend who said she was too drunk and wanted to leave. I find her and she runs off to the bathroom. This guy walks up to me, maybe 5 feet 4 inches but 10 wet, and he gets really close and looks me square in the eye and goes, "If you take her, we'll have to jump you." And I look around and he's got maybe 5 or 6 friends about his size. I had one of those "would you fight one horse-sized duck or 10 duck-sized horses" moments and almost burst out laughing in his face. Found out later he had a huge crush on my girlfriend and all his friends hated me for being in his way. I drove her home. Didn't get jumped. My father didn't like that I hit him back the first time I retaliated, so he called the police on me. Told them I was 18. I was a minor and that was a problem. Told them I'd come at him and attacked him. Imagine that. A grown-ass man had to lie to someone with more authority than him just to finally get a win over this dependent child. I'm glad I don't live with him anymore. I can't think of a better definition of pathetic. I worked at Pizza Hut when I was 14. Everything except the cash register. A new manager started with us. Before the end of my shift, where it was just him and me, a Sunday, I made myself a pizza and was about to go home. Now, the previous management didn't mind when I made a pizza for myself about once a week or so. But this guy got extremely mad over it. "Hey you. Yeah, what's this? A pizza? Who ordered this?" "No one. It's for me." "Did I say you could make a pizza for yourself?" "Well no, but, so why'd you make it?" "The other managers for the last 6 months." "I don't care. You better ask me next time." "Alright, you can keep the pizza this time." "Sure. Say thank you to me." Thanks. Guy was like 40. Good thing I quit like a week later, for unrelated reasons. This guy from work gave me a lift, which was decent, but he had a chip on his shoulder about it. He put on the child locks. I couldn't get out, so he came around to let me out of the back, and I got out and walked off. Didn't close the door. I let him do it like a chauffeur. This happened about 15 years ago. My GF and I were at a club for her birthday. I was not into clubs or dancing, but she was. Anyway, I made an effort to try and dance, but Stephen Hawking had more rhythm than me. A guy came up to me and told me I was a terrible dancer. I just laughed and told him I agreed. A few moments later he came back and said, "I don't think you understand just how bad you are. It's embarrassing." I replied that I knew exactly how bad I was and that I was only doing it because my GF wanted to. He looked at my GF, then at me and said, "Here's what I'm going to do. I am going to take you outside and beat you until you're black and blue. Then I'm going to come back inside, grab your girl and take her home with me. Then I'm going to screw her until she can't stand." My girlfriend heard that last part and was none too thrilled at his suggestion. She told him to get lost and if he bothered either of us again, she'd rip his balls off and feed them to him. I like your GF. I was at this crappy tavern in my hometown quite a few years ago. It was known for being kind of violent from time to time, and the nearby high school was full of kids that seemed to love to a good fight, according to my then girlfriend. I was oblivious to this fact at the time and was just out for a good time. Dancing, drinking, smoking a joint or two. I noticed this guy on the dance floor that looked like he could have been Dave Grohl's twin. So as I was dancing around, I yelled that exact thing at him. "Dude, you look like fricking Dave Grohl. That's awesome," and his immediate response was to deadpan and scream out, "I fricking hate Dave Grohl," and stop dancing completely. With this sincere rage in his eyes, I couldn't help but laugh at his response, which definitely didn't make the situation better. I had seen someone getting choked out by the bouncer maybe 20 minutes prior. Yes, choked out. So who knew what this random high school kid was willing or wanting to do, but thankfully a few friends were nearby and seeing my obvious confidence he just glared and walked away. Who hates Dave Grohl? The man's a gem. Obviously his girlfriend fricked Dave Grohl in a tragic case of mistaken identity that he is unable to move past. Mocking me, making up fake BS about me and spreading rumors about me around the building that I was related to our supervisor and the super was dating my sister, and trying to get me in trouble for stuff I never even did. He was ranting to my supervisor one day about how I made less money and he was there longer than me, so why is he getting yelled at? All because he felt threatened by me that I was a harder working and way more reliable employee. He's the one who would make up the most BS excuses to blow off work. He ended up getting fired and I am still smiling about it in my new job, while I am pretty sure he's now a convenience store cashier. I wish I could have seen the look on his face when they finally did it. My best female friend's boyfriend, who is 100% jealous, threatened by how close I am to her, will constantly try to one-up me in conversation whenever I talk to her. He keeps an eye on me the whole time that I'm with her, and as soon as I make a joke or tell a story, he jumps right in with his own thing to try and top what I said. Like, every single time that I speak. Oh, that, and he'll roll up his sleeves and sit with his elbows on the table in a not so subtle effort to compare his biceps to mine. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.